When someone hurts you, especially a woman you care about, your first instinct is often to react. You feel that surge of heat in your chest, your pulse quickens, your mind races with all the things you want to say back. You want her to feel the sting she just gave you. And that's exactly what she expects for you to snap, argue, or show your pain in a way that gives her confirmation of her impact on you. But the truth is, the moment you give her that reaction, you're handing over control. You're showing her that she can pull your emotional strings whenever she wants. Reacting with calm is not about pretending you're not hurt. It's about mastering the space between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. That pause, that fraction of a second where you breathe, steady yourself, and decide is where your power lives. When you can stand in the middle of an emotional storm and keep your voice level, your face steady, and your energy grounded, you send a clear message without saying a word. You don't control me. This confuses her because the script she's expecting gets ripped up. If she wanted to provoke guilt, you didn't give it. If she wanted to see you angry, you didn't give it. If she wanted to watch you crumble, you didn't give it. Instead, you responded in a way that makes her question herself. She'll start wondering, why didn't he react? Does he not care? Did I misjudge his feelings? Is he stronger than I thought? That mental spiral is far more powerful than any speech you could deliver in the heat of the moment. Calm doesn't mean cold or dismissive. It means steady. You can still acknowledge the situation without giving away your emotional center. You can look her in the eye and say, I hear you, or all right, and then let silence do the rest. You could choose to walk away instead of escalating. You can choose to end the conversation when it's no longer productive. She has to deal with her own words, her own behavior, and the silence you've left in place. And silence can be deafening when someone expects chaos. Men who master this don't just win arguments, they win respect. You become the kind of man who can't be easily provoked, the kind of man who isn't swayed by every emotional wave, the kind of man who is dangerous not because of aggression, but because of composure. Women notice that, they're not used to it, and it makes them curious about what's going on beneath the surface. The truth is, the most confusing thing you can do when a woman tries to hurt you is to stay calm and refuse to give her the reaction she thought she could control. That's when she realizes the game isn't hers to play anymore. Pulling back is one of the most misunderstood moves a man can make when a woman hurts him. Most men either overdo it with cold silence, turning it into a sulking punishment, or they refuse to pull back at all, clinging to the connection in fear of losing her. But the kind of pulling back I'm talking about isn't about pouting or trying to make her chase you out of guilt. It's about creating space with intention, space that sends a silent but powerful message. I value myself enough to step away and focus on me. When you pull back with purpose, you aren't retreating out of weakness. You're recalibrating. You're reclaiming your emotional energy from a situation that's no longer feeding you in a healthy way. This isn't about cutting her off completely, unless that's what's needed. It's about breaking the pattern of instant availability and constant response. When a woman hurts you, she's expecting one of two reactions: you blow up or you cling harder. Both keep her in control of the dynamic. Purposeful distance takes that control away. Here's what makes it powerful: it disrupts her sense of predictability. If she's used to you texting back instantly, suddenly she's waiting hours or even days. If she's used to you always initiating plans, now you're focusing on your own schedule and letting her reach out first. If she's used to you checking in on her moods, now you're too busy improving your own. She starts to feel the shift. She can sense that your attention is no longer guaranteed, and that uncertainty is unsettling in a way that gets her attention fast. Pulling back with purpose also changes how you show up when you do interact, because you've been focusing on your own life, working on your goals, spending time with people who uplift you, taking care of your body and mind. You come back to her presence as a better, stronger version of yourself. You're no longer speaking from a place of emotional desperation. You're speaking from a place of choice, and choice is attractive. This doesn't mean you disappear completely or play childish games. It means you stop giving away the best parts of yourself to someone who's not appreciating them in the moment. You keep your tone calm, your words measured, and your actions aligned with your priorities. You don't chase for explanations or demand constant reassurance. You let your absence do the talking. The beauty of this is that it forces her to face the possibility of losing you without you having to threaten it. You're not saying, if you keep this up, I'm gone. You're showing through your actions that you are fully capable of walking in a different direction if the respect you deserve isn't there. That's far more powerful than any ultimatum. And here's a real secret: this distance isn't just for her benefit, it's for yours. When you step back, you get to see the relationship with clearer eyes. You get to decide whether her presence in your life is truly adding value or just draining you. You get to remember who you are without the noise of her approval or disapproval clouding your decisions. When a woman hurts you and you respond by pulling back with purpose, you're not punishing her, you're protecting yourself. And that kind of self respect is impossible to ignore. There's something incredibly disarming about a man who can still smile, laugh, and live fully even after someone tries to hurt him. Most people expect pain to show on your face, in your energy, and in your behavior. They expect to see you withdrawn, moody, or clearly carrying the weight of what they've done. But when you refuse to give them that satisfaction, when you show a level of happiness and fulfillment that they cannot touch, it creates a kind of confusion they can't quite shake. This doesn't mean faking a grin while you're broken inside. It means genuinely choosing to redirect your focus toward things that bring you joy and energy rather than obsessing over the person who hurt you. If you let her believe she has the power to ruin your day, your week, or even your sense of self, she'll know exactly where to press when she wants to get a reaction. But when she sees that her words or actions have no control over your happiness, it forces her to rethink everything she thought she knew about you. Happiness she can't control is powerful because it shifts the dynamic completely. If she's expecting you to retreat into sadness, but instead you're out with friends, hitting the gym, diving into your passions, and genuinely enjoying your life, she's left wondering, did I really matter that much to him? Why isn't he affected the way I thought he would be? That uncertainty is what makes her look twice, think twice, and sometimes even regret twice. This is not about revenge or pretending to be okay just to provoke a reaction. It's about proving to yourself and unintentionally to her that your joy doesn't depend on her approval or attention. A man who can stand in his own light is far more attractive and far more respected than one who dims himself to match someone else's mood. One of the most effective ways to embody this is to actively invest in areas of your life that make you feel alive. Travel somewhere new, learn a skill you've been putting off, start a fitness journey, reconnect with old friends, or simply take time for hobbies you love. These actions do more than just fill your calendar, they fill your spirit. They remind you that your identity is bigger than one relationship or one person's opinion. And here's the interesting part: the more you live in this space, the more natural it becomes. At first, it might take effort. You might have to push yourself to say yes to plans, to get out of the house, to laugh even when you don't fully feel like it. But over time, you'll find that you've built a life that feels too good to put on pause for someone else's drama. That's when your happiness becomes unshakable, because it's rooted in your own actions and mindset, not in anyone else's treatment of you. When she sees this, she can't help but feel unsettled. Not because you're trying to make her jealous or prove a point, but because you've done the one thing she didn't expect. You've taken back control over your emotional state. And once a woman realizes she no longer has that power over you, she starts looking at you differently, with curiosity, with respect, and sometimes with the desire to be part of the joy she can no longer dictate. When a woman hurts you, there is nothing more confusing to her than seeing you happy, thriving, and untouchable, because deep down she knows she's lost her grip. One of the most underrated ways to completely shift the energy when a woman hurts you is to respond with unexpected kindness. Now, I know that sounds counterintuitive. You might think, why should I be kind to someone who just caused me pain? But here's the thing: kindness in this context isn't about rewarding bad behavior or pretending everything is fine. It's about showing that you're so secure in yourself that her actions can't pull you down into pettiness or spite. When you respond with kindness, you immediately throw off her emotional script. If she was expecting anger, sarcasm, or withdrawal, your calm and respectful response will catch her completely off guard. It's like holding up a mirror to her behavior without ever needing to point a finger. She's left thinking, wait, why isn't he matching my energy? Why isn't he firing back? And that confusion is where the shift happens. Kindness in this situation doesn't mean overcompensating or trying to win her over. It means choosing to operate from your own standards instead of reacting to hers. Maybe you still greet her politely. Maybe you still hold the door open. Maybe you still speak with a level of warmth that says, your actions don't change my character. That's the power of emotional self mastery. You show that you can treat someone with dignity even when they don't necessarily deserve it. And here's where it gets even more powerful: when you maintain kindness, you maintain control of the emotional tone. Arguments and hostility feed off each other. If she throws negativity at you and you feed it back, it spirals. But when you meet negativity with composure, it fizzles out. You're essentially saying, I'm not stepping into your storm. I'll stand here in the calm. That makes her reevaluate her approach because now she's dealing with a man who doesn't fight on her terms. This doesn't mean you let her walk all over you. In fact, true kindness often comes with firm boundaries. You can say no with kindness. You can end a conversation with kindness. You can walk away from a toxic situation without slamming doors or burning bridges. That's the difference between weakness and strength. Weakness bends to avoid conflict. Strength stands firm without hostility. Think about the psychological impact this has. If she hurt you intentionally, she probably expected to see visible damage. But when she sees you unshaken, still capable of grace, it forces her to confront her own behavior in a deeper way. She may even feel guilt, not because you demanded it, but because you showed her a version of herself in contrast to your steadiness. People remember how you make them feel, and when you choose kindness over revenge, you leave a lasting impression. It's not about making her want you back or changing her mind. It's about walking away from the interaction knowing you stayed true to your values. You'll never look back and think, I wish I hadn't lost my cool, but you might look back and think, I'm glad I handled that with class. When a woman hurts you, unexpected kindness becomes the ultimate curveball. It confuses her, disarms her, and most importantly, keeps your dignity intact because nothing is more powerful than refusing to let someone else's darkness dim your light. Another way to truly confuse a woman after she's hurt you is to operate as if nothing has changed. Not in a way that ignores reality, but in a way that shows you're unaffected. Most people expect tension, awkward silences, or a visible shift in energy after conflict. They expect to feel the coldness in your tone or see the distance in your body language. But when you carry yourself with the same relaxed confidence as before, you completely disrupt her expectations. This doesn't mean you're pretending to be oblivious. You're not ignoring the fact that she's hurt you. You're simply choosing not to let it alter your behavior in a way that gives her emotional leverage. The subtle power in this is that it communicates something far deeper than words. You don't have the power to dictate my emotional state. That's a message she will pick up on without you ever needing to say it directly. The trick is to maintain your usual habits, tone, and rhythm. You don't suddenly start avoiding her or sending short, passive aggressive replies. You don't drop your shoulders and act wounded in her presence. Instead, you keep your posture strong, your communication smooth, and your demeanor light. It's not fake, it's the result of focusing on your own center of gravity instead of letting her actions knock you off balance. Psychologically, this creates uncertainty for her. If she hurt you intentionally, she might be wondering why she's not seeing the emotional fallout she expected. If it was unintentional, she might question whether she even affected you at all. In either case, you've interrupted her ability to predict your reaction, and unpredictability is deeply unsettling for someone who thought they knew how you'd respond. This approach also forces her to deal with her own emotions without dragging you into them. If she was hoping for a fight or some dramatic confrontation to release her guilt or frustration, you deny her that outlet. Instead, she's left with her own thoughts, replaying the situation and questioning whether she underestimated your resilience. That's when the regret often starts to set in, not because you told her off, but because you didn't give her the reaction she was bracing for. The beauty of acting as if nothing has changed is that it's rooted in self respect. You're not pretending the hurt didn't happen, you're simply refusing to let it define your interactions. Over time, this builds an unshakable reputation. You are not a man whose mood swings wildly based on other people's behavior. You are steady, you are in control, you decide how you show up. Of course, this doesn't mean you allow the same hurtful behavior to continue unchecked. Boundaries still matter. You can keep your composure while still making decisions about who has access to you and in what way. Acting as if nothing has changed is about emotional mastery, not blind tolerance. You can be friendly and cordial while slowly pulling your energy back from people who don't value it. And here's the most interesting part. Often, the moment she realizes she can't knock you off your game is the moment she starts rethinking her actions. She may wonder what's going on in your mind, what you're feeling, and why she can't read you the way she used to. That curiosity alone can be far more powerful than any heated argument or dramatic reaction. When a woman hurts you, showing her through your calm consistency that you remain grounded is one of the most confusing and empowering responses you can give because it proves you're living on your own terms. One of the most effective ways to confuse a woman who has hurt you is to become deeply focused on your own personal growth. Not in a shallow, look at me, I'm doing better without you kind of way, but in a genuine, all in commitment to becoming the strongest, happiest, and most fulfilled version of yourself. This is powerful because it shifts the story. Instead of the hurt defining you, the hurt becomes fuel, something that pushes you toward evolution rather than pulling you into bitterness. When someone wrongs you, the natural instinct is often to dwell on it, replaying the event in your mind, looking for answers and getting trapped in the why, but personal growth flips that script. Instead of pouring your energy into analyzing your actions, you pour it into upgrading your own life. That shift in focus alone can be enough to throw her completely off balance. Why? Because she expects you to be stuck in the emotional space she left you in, not racing ahead, building and leveling up. Growth can take many forms. Maybe it's working on your body, not for vanity, but for strength, health, and confidence. Maybe it's building your career or business, learning new skills, traveling, or deepening your social connections. The key is that these changes are not just external, they're internal. You start thinking differently, carrying yourself differently, and attracting new opportunities and people into your life. That energy is magnetic and it's very hard to ignore. What makes this so confusing for her is that it challenges her assumptions. If she thought you'd crumble or fade into the background, seeing you elevate yourself forces her to confront the fact that she underestimated you. And if she once held a central place in your world, watching you now thrive without her can stir emotions she didn't expect: curiosity, admiration, and sometimes even regret. The beauty of this approach is that it's not about her at all. She may have been the catalyst, but she's not the reason you keep going. You're not making changes for her reaction. You're making them because you've decided that you're worth more than sitting in pain. That authenticity is what makes the change so striking. When you're doing it just to prove a point, it can feel forced and temporary. But when you're doing it because it's who you want to be, it becomes part of your identity. And there's a hidden benefit here. The more you grow, the less the original hurt matters. You start to see it as a turning point rather than an ending. The energy you once spent thinking about her is now invested in building something real and lasting for yourself. That's the ultimate form of taking your power back because it's no longer tied to whether she sees it or not. Over time, your personal growth can create a gap between who you are now and who you were when she hurt you. A gap so big that she can't quite reach across it. That gap is where your confidence, independence, and self respect live. And when she looks at you now, she sees someone she can't easily read, predict, or influence. When a woman hurts you, the most confusing thing you can do is to turn that pain into progress. Because nothing unsettles someone more than realizing the very thing they thought would break you became the reason you became unshakable.